Under a Trump administration, what should I do with my IRAs and 401ks? Well, if you've watched very many of my videos, you probably heard me say I've never owned an IRA or 401k. Yep, never will. I've never owned a Roth IRA or 401k and never will. But this is not about me, this is about you. If you have money in an IRA or 401k, watch and listen close to what you should be doing during the next few years under a Trump administration. If not, you'll be kicking yourself for not getting taxes over and done with sooner than later. So I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for more than 5 decades, helping thousands of Americans optimize their assets and minimize tax. And I have clients Republican, I have clients Democrats. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. I've never had anybody that if I showed them how they could save unnecessary tax, that they didn't seize the opportunity. Generally speaking, I'm going to simplify this, that for the last several decades, you can tell whenever any tax laws are passed, who was in control of the executive and the legislative branches of Congress based upon the tax laws that were passed, okay? Basically, the Democrat philosophy is, well, let's have more government, more regulations, and we need to have more tax revenue, so just simply raise taxes to do that. The Republican philosophy generally is, no, less government, but if we need tax revenue for certain, government services, the best way is to raise the revenue that's being taxed. And they usually raise revenue, stimulating the economy by lowering taxes, and they end up with more tax revenue than if they went out and stifled the economy by raising taxes, okay? That's generally speaking. Now, you don't have to agree totally with me, but you got to see that. The writing is there on the wall for decades. Now, knowing that, you need to understand what you should be doing now that we know Trump, Republican, he's going to be stimulating the economy. He's going to be keeping tax rates low and maybe even lowering them more. So the first question is, what should you do with your IRAs or 401ks? Well, if you're age 59 and a half or older and you're not retired yet, it doesn't make any difference. You shouldn't keep postponing and deferring and procrastinating until age 72 or 73 and taking RMDs, required minimum distributions, thinking you're saving tax. No, you're not. You're costing yourself. You're compounding the problem. I can prove that to you mathematically. You ought to consider a strategic rollout, not a rollover. And I'll explain the difference here next. But first of all, you need to understand that most Americans, when they approach retirement, they may draw income from up to 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of these general categories, okay? Investment income, real estate income, if they own real estate or they're renting out properties, guaranteed income, maybe a pension or Social Security or something. This is the most underutilized, but my favorite, tax-free. Okay, so let's do a little bit deeper dive on what these 4 are. 91% of Americans are way too top-heavy in this purple category. Yet to be taxed, IRAs or 401ks invested where? In the market. They don't realize Wall Street was not designed to create predictable income. People during the Great Recession knew they had to put off retirement 12 years because they would have depleted their nest egg. So if you have a lot of your money in yet to be taxed IRAs or 401ks in the market, at retirement planning is not the same thing you did for retirement. You ought to perform a strategic rollout. Before I get to that, let me just say, if you have some real estate properties and you're counting on rental income, that's okay. You wouldn't believe, though, how many clients I have that own a lot of real estate properties. And frankly, most of them are sick and tired of being a landlord, taking out the trash, evicting tenants, fixing toilets, and they just want to get rid of it. It's an albatross around their neck. But they're trapped. They feel like they're trapped because they've been doing 1031 exchanges. And so they're going to keep inheriting new headaches every time they sell a property. They buy another property to keep deferring. Well, if you listen very close to Kamala Harris's agenda, she wanted to raise taxes by raising the capital gain tax on highly appreciated assets when you sell them from 20% up to 39.6. She wanted to double that. She even entertained doing away with the step up in basis on long-term capital gains. So all those 1031 exchanges would have been for naught. But then she wanted to start taxing people on unrealized capital gains. Really? Okay. In other words, she wanted to tax people every year on how their assets, their real estate, their house, what it appreciated to. And she wanted you to pay tax on how much it appreciated to. Well, how are you going to afford that? Because you haven't realized the gain yet. Okay. And so you're going to have to come up with other money to pay tax on a gain that you haven't realized yet. What if your house the next year goes down in value? I don't think she was going to refund what she taxed you on. She may let you slide that year without a tax, let you coast until the house now starts appreciating again, but she's not going to refund the money. A lot of times, the Republican philosophy is capital gain tax is unfair because you're being taxed by and large on inflation. A lot of things appreciate just because of inflation. So that's why Republicans have always said, well, you ought to pay about half the normal rate on taxes, 20% instead of 40%. Well, the Democrat philosophy is no, let's have you pay the same as ordinary income. Okay, that's the difference. So you may want to get money out of those properties, get the taxes over and done with at today's lower capital gain rates, and reposition that money into something that's going to be tax-free from now on. People are usually flabbergasted when they see that they can get income that's greater than the net after-tax income from their rental properties, and they don't have to be a landlord anymore, okay? It's amazing how many people we've helped do that. Now, some people like the guaranteed bucket, okay? They're not so concerned about being rich, they just don't want to be poor. They don't want to outlive their money, and so even if they run out of money, they don't want to run out of income. And so they like pensions or Social Security or maybe annuities that have a guaranteed payout as long as you live. That's okay, but it's not for everybody. But for people who have a low risk tolerance, you may want to consider an orange bucket for some of your money. But the most underutilized is this green one, okay? Now, there's three categories of Roths. I've never owned a Roth and never will because there's too many strings attached. Municipal bonds, they're not very popular anymore because a lot of municipalities are filing bankruptcy and they're low yielding. My favorite is an MFTA, Max Funded Tax Advantage Insurance Contract. If it's structured correctly and funded properly, it is deemed a L.A.S.E.R fund, which is the title of my most recent best-selling book I want to gift you at the end here because it's the ultimate tax-free bucket. Okay, what am I talking about here? Now that we know the results of the election, I would recommend for many Americans approaching retirement that they get their money out of this purple bucket, out of their IRAs or 401ks. Get the taxes over and done with at today's lower values and lower tax rates. You don't have to pull it out and spend the money. Where do you put the after-tax money? In the green bucket. Growing tax-free from now on. If you use the L.A.S.E.R fund, you'll actually get reimbursed at the end of the day for any tax you did pay. Now, you can learn this, but that's what a rollout is. It's not a rollover. A rollover is going from the frying pan into the fire, so to speak. This is where people get duped into taking money in their 401ks, rolling it over to an IRA, continuing to defer and postpone, and then at age 72, 73, they have to start taking RMDs, and so they do thinking they're saving tax. I developed software years ago that shows you the darkness of the night if you do that. That if you postpone till you have to start taking RMDs, and then you do that out to your life expectancy, your spouse's life expectancy, and then the remainder is passed on to non-spousal heirs, and they have to pay tax within 10 years. People are shocked at how much they compounded the tax. They weren't saving tax, they were compounding the tax, okay? It's better to get the money out, over and done with a roll out, not a rollover, okay? I recommend at retirement that no more than 30% of your retirement income should be coming out of that purple bucket. If you own real estate, I recommend no more than 30% of your retirement income should be reliant on those rental properties having tenants. because you can have vacancies. You shouldn't be reliant just on your real estate. Based on your risk tolerance, between 0 up to 80% of your income could be a guaranteed income. But I recommend that 40 to 60% of your retirement income not even show up on the front page of your 1040 tax return. Is it legit? Absolutely. Why? Folks, ever since 1986 tax reform, who was president of the United States in 1986? Ronald Reagan, okay? Republican or Democrat? Republican. What's his philosophy? Lower taxes. He did. In 1986 Tax Reform Act, he lowered taxes. He took all of these 6 or 7 tax rates from the highest of 70% and created a 15% tax and a 28% tax. He said no American should pay more than 28% of their income in tax to the federal government, okay? He did away with some of the tax deductions, but that's what he did. Now, ever since then, they've come back with 6 or 7 thresholds again, and they didn't give us the tax deduction. But folks, ever since 1986 tax reform, there's only 3 types of income Americans pay income tax on. Earned income, that would be, salaries, wages, and so forth. Passive income, that would be interest or dividends. That's portfolio income. Passive income, which would be rental income or lease income, okay? So if you have income that does not fall under one of those 3 umbrellas, there's nowhere on a 1040 tax return to put it. It's tax-free. The IRS will know you're receiving it, but it's tax-free. It's not even worth auditing. Money out of a properly structured Max Funded IUL L.A.S.E.R fund is tax-free because it's not deemed earned passive or portfolio income, okay? Now, I want to gift you a copy of this book, and you can actually read stories of how we have helped people with strategic rollouts. We helped 2 school teachers, husband and wife, both school teachers, save $250,000 of unnecessary tax they were going to pay if they kept listening to their advisor, keeping their money in 403Bs and 401Ks and TSAs, deferring until age 72 and taking RMDs. They were shocked how much they would pay in tax. I saved them $250,000 of unnecessary tax, doubled their income. I had a real estate landlord. I saved him $750,000 of unnecessary tax. And I actually 4 times his income, okay? Now, husband and wife, I had a husband and a wife, both physicians. They saved $4.6 million in IRAs and 401Ks. I wish I could have saved them the $2.6 million they were going to pay in tax if they followed the herd and took RMDs and what have you. I said, well, I can only save you maybe about $1.2 million. You're way too top heavy in that purple bucket. Now, their advisor said, well, they can afford to pay $2.6 million in taxes. They have $4.6 million. I go, why don't we ask them? Now, again, it didn't matter their political affiliation. I won't share what it was, but I said, if you could save $1.2 million of tax, would you like to do that? They said, duh, absolutely. That $1.2 million is in an IUL L.A.S.E.R fund generating $100,000 a year of tax-free growth and income that will last in their family bank for generations. That is money that would otherwise go down the drain in unnecessary tax. We had a couple in California that saved $6 million in their IRAs and 401Ks. When they saw this, they bit the bullet and they said, we're not satisfied with 40 or 60% of our retirement being tax-free. We want 100%. Okay. So they bit the bullet. And they did a strategic rollout. They paid $2 million in taxes in the next 5 years. The IRS should have been thrilled. Instead of having to wait and get it for over a several-year period, they got $2 million of tax revenue in a 5-year period. They netted $4 million that went into their 4 IUL L.A.S.E.R funds. That $4 million doubled to $8 million in 7.5 years, tax-free. They now have $8 million generating $600,000 to $800,000 a year of tax-free income. They only need $300,000 a year to live on. They have $500,000 a year more than they need that is a hedge against inflation. Folks, I had a couple come to me with $2.6 million in their IRAs or 401Ks. They were thumping themselves on the chest. We think with a 6% payout, 6% of $2.6 million, we can enjoy $160,000 a year out of our IRA or 401K portfolio. Plus we have another $40,000 coming from, my wife's school teacher pension or Social Security, whatever. We have $200,000 of income. I go, way to go. You're a saver. I do see one big problem. What's that? Well, it's all showing up on the front page of your 1040 tax return. They were like, you mean there's another way? And I go, absolutely. They were going to pay $54,000 or more in tax every year the rest of their life and only have a net of $146,000 to buy gas and groceries. In 5 years, I got $120,000 of the $200,000 off of their 1040 tax return. They have the same $200,000 of income. Actually, we've increased it to $240,000, but apples to apples, with the same income, they now only have to pay tax of $21,000 because 60% of it's tax-free. They're netting more money. I'm saving them at least $32,000 or more a year in tax. By the time they both pass away, we will have saved them between $800,000 to $1 million of unnecessary tax. So what am I talking about here? There's opportunity. Now we know the results of the election. The Trump tax cuts of 2017 may likely not expire at the end of 2025 like they were going to. He will probably extend them. What does that mean? If you don't get taxes over and done with at today's lower rates during his administration, you think you're saving tax by waiting? You're going to kick yourself. So what does this mean? In the year 2024, for example, a married couple filing a joint tax return, they only pay 22% in federal tax on a taxable income of up to $201,000. Now, if you made $150,000, that means you have $50,000 of room that you could pay tax at 22%, which is probably the lowest rate you would ever pay again. Get it over with and reposition it into something tax-free from now on. If a married couple making up to $383,000 is only in a 24% bracket, it's never been that low. Why not get it over and done with? If you have an income of $300,000 as a couple, you have $83,000 of room that you can take that out of an IRA or 401k every year and pay only 24%. Hello? If you don't, you're going to end up paying maybe 16% more than that when these tax cuts expire at the end of 2025 or maybe the end of his term. Don't wait around and pay 16% more money, okay? And so when you look at this, the 22% bracket goes to 25, the 24 goes to 28, and people say, well, that's only 4% more. Now, if on every $1,000 of IRA or 401k money, you pay $240 and now you pay $280, that's $40 more. $40 is 16.66% of $240. Does that make sense? Don't wait around and pay 16% more in tax. Get it over and done with. So this is called a strategic rollout. So if you want to explore this, first of all, I'd strongly recommend you study my book, The L.A.S.E.R Fund. This is a 300-page book. It's actually 2 books in one. This side, the white side, is about 200 pages, 14 chapters with all the charts and graphs and explanations if you're a left-brain learner. If you're a right-brain learner, you learn more by stories. You flip it over to this book, 12 chapters, about 100 pages with 62 actual client stories. And there's a chapter in this side that gives 5 stories of how we did strategic rollouts and saved these people hundreds of thousands of dollars of unnecessary tax. If you want to use your whole brain, read both of these books, but go in and claim a free copy because you can buy it on Amazon for $20 up to $60. If you do, thank you, but I'll gift you a copy free. To claim your free copy, click on the link below or go to laserfund.com. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost, and I'll pay for the book. But I require a little bit of skin in the game. Come on, contribute towards the shipping and handling. I'll pay for the book. And then while you're in there claiming your free copy, if you like to listen and learn or watch and learn, there's formats for that. You can schedule to attend one of our free educational webinars that we do on a weekly basis. You can even schedule an appointment to talk to an IUL specialist to see how any of this applies in your particular set of circumstances, and you can have a customized strategic rollout analysis report, a $1,500 value, free. So this is not about me. This is about you. I want you to save unnecessary tax and act. Don't sit back and react, especially if your candidate didn't win. Now you know the results. Start acting.